Hi, everybody. It's Brian from Bearable Traders here. And this, of course, is the weekend video. It's Saturday, May 3rd. And we'll take a look at what happened last week in the markets, do a quick review. And more importantly, we'll look ahead and see what we got coming up this week. So let's get down to it. All right. So, a quick review of what happened last week. Rally continued. We got some positive earnings out of Microsoft and Meta. Stronger than expected jobs report on Friday. We also got some PCE data out that indicated that inflation isn't coming back to life quite yet, so that was positive. On the downside, we got Apple and Amazon's quarterly reports, which weren't quite as good, but we did get a news release from China indicating that they were prepared to negotiate under certain terms. That gave some hope that maybe we could get this impasse broken on tariff negotiations. So overall, pretty positive news this week. And you can see here the Dow, Q, SPY, IWM all ended up 3% higher or higher, plus or minus. So there you go, another green week here. And technology and industrials, they were the sectors that gained the most. Energy was the only losing sector, just marginally. So we did have the 2-year and the 10-year Treasury kick up a bit, and I think that was mostly on this positive jobs report stuff. A little bit economy showing a little bit more strength, and maybe needing some higher interest rates. And you can see here the dollar moved up with interest rates, which is normally what you see. And finally, Bitcoin still made that move from 85 to 95, and now we're flirting with that 100,000 level. So probably, or could see that next week. So that was it for the week in review. And this is where we do a quick pause for a little plug on my books that are available on Amazon. You can see there how to swing trade if you're interested in swing trading, profiting as an active trader, a little bit more in-depth swing trading and positioning type information, education. And finally, my last book there, How to Trade Options, all available on Amazon. And if you're looking for the links, you can either look in the description of this video, or you can just search online. And there you go. So let's move on and start looking at some indexes. Okay, so let's start out by looking at some indexes here. You can see the 2-year eked up a little bit this week on that positive, I would say the positive labor report that came out showing that payrolls grew more than expected, maybe showing the economy is a little bit stronger than everybody had anticipated. So we got a lift in the 2-year and a bit of a lift in the 10-year as well. But we are still stuck trading in this range here, so can't really read into it too much until we get more data there. The Dow on the daily, you can see we're breaking out here, coming up into an area we actually broke out from this area of prior support, and now coming up into filling this gap area here. So the Dow continuing to perform fairly well here throughout the week. And you can see on the weekly here, we're coming up to an area where could be some resistance, support here, and a bit of support here before we broke down, and also got a moving average there. So a little bit more upside potential on the Dow. The Qs, again, we're right up to that 200-day moving average here, and you can see we've definitely broken this downtrend. And as far as resistance goes, we still have some more room to run. If we can get through this 200 level, there's your support here, bit of support here as we came back down. So the Qs still looking pretty positive for a continuation move higher. The SPY, again, coming up to this 200-day and pretty close to an area where we'd expect some resistance. But again, a little bit more upside there, possibly next week, particularly as we get more positive news, hopefully on some resolution to some tariffs. Again, that'll just keep this market moving higher. And you can see the IWM, I mean, we broke through an area of resistance. This was 2 areas of support here, double bottom kind of, but it didn't resolve to the upside, actually dropped further. But you can see here we broke out on Friday, and IWM looks like it has some room to run here up to maybe 208 next week as we continue maybe to get some good news here as far as tariffs go. So here we go. The VIX again, really just selling off here. Fear index seems to be waning away. The dollar again up a little bit based on the rise in yields this week. And you can see here we really kind of found a bottom right where we would have expected, because there was resistance here, a breakout level here, back to support here, and we pretty much bounced right off of there. So, and Bitcoin, we're sitting around 96,000 right now. So Bitcoin again, nice move up, kind of tested this sort of 98,000. A few people obviously front ran that 100K number, but we may be looking for a move back above 100 this week if the strength continues there. And that was the week in review. All right, so let's look at a few swing trades I've got on right now. And started out with Apple. If you were in the room on Friday, you know I'd taken a trade on Apple, kind of bottomed out, and then it started to take off. So I mentioned I probably was going to swing some of it, and I did take some profits on it, just in around 203 and some change there. So I believe so, and we finished out the day around 205. Looking for a little bit more of a gap fill here. If we can get back up to 208, 209, take the rest off, but already taken some profits on that. IBT, I'm long. I mentioned this in my swing trade video last week. I was looking at it, and as Bitcoin was breaking out there, I took some PLTR, as I mentioned, in holding in my swing trade account for a few weeks now. Got to this 120 target, which is what I was looking for. We did the pullback on that day after we hit 120. And then I jumped back in it again, and it looks like we may retest this 125, although it is reporting at the end of Monday, and I probably will not hold the little position that I have on it after getting back into it on Friday there. And silver, I'm still kind of watching this, but I did have a little position on. I did sell it as we sold off during the week there, took the rest of it off, and yeah, the metals have not been doing very well here in the last week or so. TQQ, I mentioned this. I was long last week, and I'm still long because I was anticipating this breakout, which we got especially on Thursday, Friday. So still long some TQQ, and long a bit of Tesla. I mentioned I had some on the weekend, last weekend, and we had a really nice move up here on Monday, and still holding that one. So in a bit of a swing trade account. So that's where things are looking right now. Still holding some of that, looking for a break above the 200-day moving average on Tesla. All right, so let's look at some of the trades I'm looking at possibly for next week. I have this on my watch list for a couple weeks. I still haven't pulled the trigger on it. BABA, unfortunately, on Friday we got this nice gap fill here. Back up to 125. I almost think now a better trade would be to sell some puts down here at 120 if you and then maybe if it pulls back to there, end up with the shares there. But if you're not sure about how that strategy works, you can check it out in my How to Trade Options book. But yeah, selling some puts there, maybe collecting some premium. I kind of feel like this is just continuing to go higher. All the indicators are looking pretty positive here for BABA to continue to go higher. And certainly BABA will get a pop if we get any kind of resolution with the tariff debates that are going on here. Gold, I got out of gold for some time ago. Now I'm just watching it. You can see here it's pulling back. Again, 46 looks like a pretty solid area of support on GDX. And again, you can either wait for it to hit there and maybe take a long with a tight stop, or you could also sell some puts there as well. And if it drops below 46, you'll end up owning the shares at 46 less whatever you got for the premium. So again, sort of an options trade there if you're interested in options. But GDX certainly now pulling back after it had that nice run up with the rest of the metals. And Meta had both. I'm just looking at some of these after earnings trades. Meta again, nice gap up here after earnings. Did sell off on Thursday, but again, buyers came back in on Friday, pushing it back up. It's kind of in an area, funny area, but so it might be a better play again to either wait for a pullback to around 560 or sell some puts there and just collect the premium. Maybe if it continues to go higher, you'll just bank the premium. If it does pull back there, you might end up owning it. But again, can use an option strategy on this one. Another possible for option strategy, Microsoft's really back up pretty close to this high. There's going to be some pretty significant resistance here around 450. So again, maybe a possibility to sell some upside calls and maybe buy calls higher up just to cover your position. But Microsoft, good report there on, I guess it was Wednesday after the close, or possibly Tuesday. I can't remember which day that was. Netflix just is a monster. It just keeps going up here. I was debating selling some calls here, and this is a strategy that wouldn't have worked very well, but again, just super strong, and I think it's really getting extended here. You can look at all these indicators here, MACD, your slow stochastics, your stochastics really oversold here, and you can see what happens when it does get up into this area. We do tend to roll over. RSI really extended here, so yeah, I think that Netflix, if you're in Netflix and you've been long for a while, this is maybe a place to take some partials. So as far as a swing trade goes, yeah, you could probably sell some puts down here, and I think you'd be pretty safe because there's just no end of buying in sight for Netflix. And that's about it for what I'm looking at for next week. Okay, so we're wrapping things up for the week of May 5th. Cinco de Mayo, by the way. Should all take a shot of tequila Monday to celebrate Mexican victory. I think it was 1869 war. But anyway, let's take a look at what we got going on. There's your indexes with the various support and resistance levels. Do have a bit of economic data coming out this week, but we do have the FOMC rate decision, probably not going to be any kind of move one way or another, and then Fed Powell will talk at 2:30. That could be a market mover, as well as a lot of Fed speeches on Friday, so there could be some volatility there. As far as earnings go, we're about 70% through earnings season, but we've got some interesting stuff coming up this week. PLTR on Monday after the close, that's been a monster mover. AMD on Tuesday with Rivian, and then you've got Uber and Disney on Wednesday, and yeah, a few more. DraftKings, Affirm, SoundHound, that's been a big one, and Coin, Shop, Piton, so lots of stuff coming up. So let's take a look here, just a high-level view to wrap things up. Again, I didn't change this slide. So looking for more positive news on tariffs again this week. I think the markets are poised to move higher again this week, so keep an eye out for that. Next week, we could see some volatility, obviously news driven, like the Fed Powell speech, etc. I've already gone over, and I sort of remain cautious for the long term. I still think there's some roadblocks ahead here, but in the short term, I think we're still looking positive for another move up here, unless we get some bad news one way or another. So that's the wrap. And please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And we will see you hopefully Monday morning in the room. 8 o'clock pre-market show starts, both live on YouTube and in our trading room. So hopefully we'll see you there. Have a great weekend, everybody.